time to glue this beast up. So everything's sanded and prepped. I'm just going to get all of this off the bench because I want to move me carpet pads. I'm going to use this polyurethane adhesive to glue this together. So for part one, I'm going to focus on the glazing bars. I'm going to glue all the joints on the glazing bars, assemble that sort of top half of the door, clamp it all up as though it's going to be finished clamped. Let that go off, disassemble it, then glue the rest of the door and get it all together. You don't need much of this PU glue for it to make a massive mess. So for that joint there, I'll just put a little bit of a dab like that, then spread that glue. Just smear it so it goes over all the end grain. Not only is it going to seal it, make a stronger joint too, and I can let that soak in while we assemble the door. The most important bit of the interlocking bars is this bit here, where they sort of join together through that tenon. That's going to make this joint really nice and strong. So type 1-3 would be my next choice. If I wasn't going to glue this up in stages, I'd use a longer open time glue like type 1-3. But I don't think sometimes these tests that you see, you know, where you do an outright strength test of open grain of adhesive, say like end grain to end grain, yes, the PU glue probably doesn't hold as strong as an outright strength test when it's brand new, but I'd love to see the difference maybe after a year of seasonal movement between some of the other adhesives and PU glue, because I reckon the PU glue would still be holding on with almost as much adhesive strength as day one, whereas these other adhesives that may have the stronger bond strength, once they've cracked, are absolutely useless. Like, they've lost all their strength completely. So they're kind of not real world examples of testing, and it's quite an influence on your decision of what adhesive to buy. If you're wondering how I'm going to disassemble this door, I've got a plan. You just simply wouldn't have the time to spread all this glue and glue the rest of this door up. If you did it all at once, it'd all be set. So that's all the glazing bars glued into the middle top rail. I've not glued the ends of these because I'm going to stick the stiles on to just align everything. Fire. So hopefully you can see how them glazing bars are interacting. I just want to align them all. I've got a little square block of timber. Just tap that on the glazing bar and adjust them so they all line up. They're all equal sized. the idea of the square block so that you're not just tilting the top of that bar over and leaving the other side in the wrong position. It references the whole set of the glazing bar and moves all of it at once. And you get nice square rebates as well for your beads to sit in. When we look down them bars, they should be absolutely arrow straight, as should the ones on this side. Really, they should be perfectly in them mortises. And all of these should be glued, and they bond really well through them glazing bars with that sort of half offset tenon. Now if I'm really quick, I can get some IPA cleaner, clean them joints up, not have too much hard work scraping all that dry glue off. Started to set a bit already, look, so good job I didn't glue it all up at once. Just using some IPA cleaner and a tile wedge to get the bulk of the stuff out of these. It's pretty much, it's not gone off, but it's gone sort of plasticky. It's not liquid anymore. It's easier to get it while it's soft than to chisel it out later on. I used to leave it all and chisel it all off, so I didn't know the IPA cleaner sort of worked. All them glazing bars are nice and dry, so I've got to disassemble this without sort of dislodging all these joints. It's going to be pretty difficult to tap these styles out without any of that racking and ruining that glued joint. So the idea is to get a couple of blocks. So screw these blocks in to the rebates below the level of the bead, so they go where the glass is going to sit in the rebate. And then onto them blocks, I'm going to attach a piece of boarding that's going to prevent that door from racking. So I'm just going to screw into them blocks from there. I've not supported these glazing bars because they're pretty free in the style, so hopefully I can tap that to bits now without it completely destroying itself. Oh, he's had an underwear. Let's get door styling. Put a little bit of that V-groove sealer in where the panel goes. It'll allow it to move, but it'll also just provide a little bit of stiction. Also, just brushed a coat of green on the panel so that if there is any movement, then it doesn't show through the lighter colour, it'll show through green. See, these are the bits that I glued first. They're not going off yet, but you won't want to be much longer. You've got another 3 or 4 minutes, so I'd never have had time to do them glazing bars at the same time. That was a good call. Before you start gluing up, you want to make sure that your trestles are nice and flat across the, you know, if you eye them through, a bit like when you're planing the timber. It's like cast through to 2 trestles and make sure they're nice and flat, else you can glue a twist into the door with wobbly trestles, especially if you let it dry sat on them. Just make sure you've got absolutely everything ready to go before you stick some PU glue on a door, because you do not have time to deal with anything that goes wrong. Put the bottom round wrong now. The tenon is in the middle, but I'll leave that on actually. Come on out, please. Oh, that was lucky. Not paying attention here. Let's turn that round. I'm bloody surprised. Ooh, that's come out, to be fair. That's crazy. I'm lucky there. Really lucky. Not paying attention. Bloody hell. Woo, that was lucky. Just going to make sure there's sort of 2 clamps across every joint, and these 2 are helping to pull the glazing bar joints tight across that glazed section. There we go, she's together, so we can relax a little bit now and just get these wedges tapped in. Slightly stressful when I realised I'd assembled it the wrong way around. It's not so bad when you use Cascamite. Put a little double glue in there and put the wedges in. I like to tap these 2 first to bring that rail, make sure it's seated up to this line here. So you can see that line there. If we just tap them up, once it gets to that line, stop. Similar amount of pressure on that one. And give the sort of bottom of the door a belt. You've got the pressure of the wedges pushing up on the tenon and hitting the rail will help nudge it up to that seated position. And when you're happy that's in the right place, tap the top wedges in and just tighten the joint. Perfect. So the middle rail joint, what you don't want to do is part that tenon. So I would put your outside wedges in until they just like touch tight. You don't want to put any pressure on it. Then drive your inside ones in up to pressure and then your outside ones to last. Like at college they'll teach you to drive the outside ones in, but I just like to seat them so that that tenon will sit nice and straight in its like relaxed position. Like that, and then just finish the joint off. Perfect. And the top tenon is exactly the same as the bottom tenon, you just got one. So tapping that up to give it a bit of pressure, tap on the top of the door, then finish the joint. You're listening more than anything for the joint to sort of become solid. See what, feeling under the weather does affect you. I've noticed it today, how much it's affected like how I'm performing and decisions. Moving now. The thing you get with PU is a bit of wedge bounce sometimes when it started to set. I don't know if you can see it from that far back, but that wedge is bouncing up. It's going boom, boom, and popping back out. So that glue, it's like virtually, it's very, very tacky. You wouldn't be pulling that joint apart now. So, best thing I ever did was gluing that up first. Get rid of all that, make our life easier tomorrow. Probably the worst bit of filming. I could have made a great video out of gluing that up, to be fair, but just not feeling it. So you'll have to wait for one in another time to get a good gluing up video. There's no need to check this one square because them glazing bars are held with that board, which is perfectly square. So it's another thing it eliminated having to do at glue up. So good, superb job. Quite like to try and clean the other side off if I can. So. It comes for the evening, so it can slide it off. a really nice looking door, isn't it? That is a nice door. This is where you get tighten all the clamps up. You get clamps to the head. Just a little bit easier to clean it now than when it's set. If it will come. Take this out of the way. Legendary bit of wood. I think that's it's one of the things that I enjoy most about the job. Not necessarily the joinery or wood. I like wood, but I'm not a huge. Some people really herb over a bit of wood, and it's not me. I'm not too fussed. I'm a problem solving and coming up with ideas, techniques, solutions, and something like putting that board on there to stop the racking as well. That's just brilliant. That's the most rewarding thing I could do. Come up with a solution to a problem like that, and it worked. You just love it. Somebody suggested that I set up like a helpline, like you can pay me so much per month, or like a subscription, a bit like Patreon, and then you can drop me a message or a call or whatever for advice on any situation or ideas on what you're working on. And that particular person was saying, like, not everyone is trained like I've been and been lucky enough to have gone through, and it is a dedication to get the knowledge of a certain amount of time and sacrifice in terms of money as well, which not everyone can go through. Like, people don't do it straight out of school, and it's almost impossible to get that. So to have that facility of knowledge available from someone that you trust, I think it's quite a good idea. So what's the thoughts from you guys about having that sort of consultancy service as a paid subscription or something? A little bit cautious as to how much of my time it would take up. But if it's worthwhile, then it's worthwhile, isn't it? If you're cleaning off with a chisel, the best time is when it's sort of just gone a bit tacky. Like the chisel doesn't stick to the glue, it's not wet enough to stick a bit of glue to the chisel, but it's also not set. It's the very best time to clean off the PU glue if it's already started to set and the solvents don't resolve it. Look at how solid them joints are. It's beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love that. Oh. So that's exactly what I've just been talking about. That is a problem joint for double glazing. We used to stub the tenons and they're in like 2mm and everything would go wobbly. As soon as you glued it up, they'd crack and move. It's just something you didn't look forward to doing, so then you weren't motivated to do it. But now I do it that way. I really enjoy doing it, and it just makes the whole job better. You do a better job because you're enjoying it. So there it is, folks, all in its glory. Yeah, I might end this video here and do a separate video on fitting all the hinges and locks and stuff and fitting it in the frame. Yeah, looking lush.